So, friends, we'll just start in a minute. Okay. And thank you so much for joining on a Sunday. That definitely means that you are interested in the topic of mind and developing your mind. That's very, very important and powerful as a resource where we are definitely investing our 30 minutes to 40 minutes on a Sunday mindfully to develop ourselves in the areas such as psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, and mindfulness. So, once again, a very, very happy Sunday to all of you, to all those wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary learners who have joined. And my whole intention of doing this is that, I want to share few ideas with you that will definitely, on a weekly basis we will add on to your knowledge, and as a group, as a community, is where we will learn. Okay, so that is my intention for these calls, and really happy that you showed up. And as they say that every time when we just take one step forward in our journey, it's an incremental increment that happens every time we are learning so much, and we realize that we have gone far ahead in our journey. So on that note, let's get started without further ado. So presenting to you some of the quotes that I have chosen, very well chosen for your journey. This is for from Shinryo Suzuki, the mindfulness teacher, and that is where, a first step, the importance of being a beginner, taking a first step is so important. Yeah. So in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few, which means we have to kind of empty our cup and take a step towards learning new things. So when we start this journey, just think about when was the last time you have learned something for the first time. Yeah. So this is our first step. Yeah, so this was a picture, actual picture that I've taken for a butterfly, and it kind of reminded me. This is a butterfly with a broken wing, but it kind of reminds me that every crack in our heart or every crack we feel which is there is a space where light will enter. Yeah. So this is where all of us come together, and really, really as a positive community, we want to definitely work on certain things where we can be a source of light, we can find our inner light. Yeah. So for those who are interested on the topic of mindfulness, the only Zen you find on the top of the mountain is the one that you brought along. So this is again one of my favorite quotes. And this is from a nice Zen book called The Eight Gates of Zen, which means that, along the journey, the experience that we carry becomes the enlightenment that we receive at the end of the day. So moving on, all interaction is the interaction with self. This is a NLP belief. As I said that this Sunday club is all about growing your knowledge on three main domains. The first domain is the domain of psychology. The second is of the neuro linguistic programming, which is a technology of success, a technology of excellence. And third, last but not the least, is about developing a mindfulness practice, because that's a very important foundation to all of the three. So this happens to be a presupposition from the field of neuro linguistic programming. Yeah, a very important one. And last but not the least, at the end of enlightenment, there is no trace of enlightenment, which means, after gaining all the knowledge or after gaining the real wisdom is to be a humble leader. So at the end of the day, our community, which is the Science of Mind Club, is all about developing ourselves, staying humble, staying true to our purpose, and making sure that we share and accept the world with open arms. So that is what this picture and the quote signifies to me. So formally, a very warm welcome again to this wonderful community, and we are connecting every Sunday for the 30 to 40 minutes. The agenda is pretty simple. We want to learn, we want to grow. This is a vision where we want to help ourselves as well as help others. So our vision is that, we become coaches, we become people builders, we become helpers to people. And that is where, with that intention, I'm sharing all these skills with those who are connected on this forum. Every Sunday, 30 to 40 minutes, 9:59, as soon as the clock strikes 10 is when we are on the club. We are here for 30 minutes. So we'll start with some of these exercises, some of these concepts. But sooner or later, as the club builds, we will be sharing a lot. I'll be also inviting some of my mentors, some of my coaches on this club where they can share ideas. And during the next 6 months to 8 months is where we will share some key concepts. So it will be like a mini course on psychology. It will be like a mini course on neurolinguistic programming and mindfulness. So very, very carefully curated and chosen ideas from these topics I'll share. So when I did my master practitioner course in neurolinguistic programming back in 2008, that is where I thought that I'll be sharing. So I was working with communities, I was working with some of my trainees, as well as I was working with some of the NGOs that time. But definitely there was an idea that I'll share these ideas with all those who are interested, and I'll definitely empower more people. So this is the forum where I think I'll be connecting with all of you and sharing these ideas. It is totally pro bono. There's no fee to it. It is a free initiative and will always be like that. What we need at the end of the day is that a positive mindset. We need people who can invest their time for their own development. Yeah. And if you are still more curious, definitely let's connect more than often on Sunday. Let's learn and apply all these things. And the beauty of all these practices, all these techniques is the more we learn, the more we apply, the better we become. So this is my intention for all of you, that we learn, we apply, we share, and we kind of transform those who are around us. And feel free to share whatever you are learning every day. And I put together a small Google site. It has some of the basic information about what we are doing here, and that is completely out of my own curiosity that I learned these topics. And now it is up to you to stay curious and kind of share this with others. Yeah. So the format in which we will proceed is, it's a 30 minutes call. We are really, really mindful of the time that everybody is investing. So the first 5, 7 minutes, or today it was the first call, so 10 minutes we have invested in setting the context. I'll be sharing one technique with you or one concept with you. So that will be another 10 to 15 minutes. And the next 10 to 15 minutes will be putting it into practice and doing some questions around it. And that's how we learn as a group. So this is where we feel that definitely we can learn more about this mind. So there's a beautiful picture. Some of you might have seen this picture in the psychology textbooks, so to speak. So what do you see on the screen? Yeah, so we are learning about mind. This is our very first concept. You're going to love this material, that, the way how we are putting things together. So, what is this picture all about? You can use the chat window and just type in, what do you see first on this picture? Yeah, some people can see a picture in one way, other people can see a picture in a different way. So, you can write your response on the chat, or you can also unmute yourself and share with the larger group. Yeah, so I say that there are two pictures in this. One, it can be a girl. Some people might see a girl. Some people can see a old lady. The picture has both of them. Which one do you see first? Do you see the girl or do you see the old lady first? I see some people writing on the chat, old lady. Abhinav is saying old lady. Thank you, Abhinav.
Yeah, it's an old lady for me also.
Old lady for you as well. Okay. So there are two pictures actually. One is the old lady, one is a young girl. So if you look closely, the nose of the old lady becomes the face of the girl looking in the other direction. And the lips of the old lady becomes like the a small necklace which is on the neck of the girl. Very, very interesting picture. So this is a picture that talks about our mind for those people, and sometimes it is very hard for those who see the old lady to see the girl, and vice versa, because that's how our mind has been conditioned. Okay. So the very first concept that we want to share with you here is that our brains, they are wired in something that we call as a default mode network. And that's how we see things generally. And this brain is a very, very important and very, very powerful um tool that we have. And it is like a machine, but like any other machine, it is important to understand, it is important to work at it. But fortunately, unfortunately, it hasn't come with a owner's manual. Nobody knows that. So there is this brain which has got so many neurons. There was one of the study that says that if we connect all the neurons in the brain, we can make a circumference of the entire earth. So just one person's brain, if all the neurons are connected, that can encircle the entire earth. So that is the kind of network of neurons that we have in the brain. However, we have not understood till now how do we master it. But then, definitely there are people in psychology, there are great teachers, there are great mentors, even sages in our own country who have explored the power of our mind. Yeah. So we have to first of all understand and appreciate that our brains are wired in a way that we see things, and definitely we have to increase our capacity of looking at things. We have to increase the way how we can utilize this machine properly. And one unique thing is that our brain likes familiarity. So whatever is familiar, whatever is comfortable, that is what our brain likes. But it learns by novelty. So what do I mean by novelty? So Abhinav, Vijayendra, Arti, anything you can think when we say novelty. Our brain learns by novelty. This is a powerful concept. You can type on the chat window. We can make it a little bit interactive if you guys want, or I can, just start with the sharing and all that. I'm fine with both. New. Thank you, Abhinav. Yes, so whatever is new. So brain actually seeks to learn. Human beings as are learning beings actually. From since childhood, we are learning new things, and so much so that we are curious to learn. Nowadays you find that smartphones have utilized this like anything. Whenever we find some new information, we get hooked onto it. A lot of people, they're spending time on social media to get new information. So definitely our brains are wired in a way that we make a connection. We like to stay in the comfortable, a familiar zone, but at the same time we would love to learn new things. And the reason why we love to learn new things is because learning is so important. And since evolution has been an important aspect of our own development, our own survival, our own growth. So this is where even on the Sunday club, we will be sharing ideas which are new, but it's not like a information which is in every direction, but very, very structured and streamlined to all these three topics. Because what we feel that if we can learn and master our mind, then it is a very important step that we have taken for our development. And learning, my friends, is a lifelong process. It is not something that we do just one day, 2 days. Just like if we take a bath every day, we go to gym every day, we eat healthy food every day, that's how learning is supposed to be a lifelong process. So I invite you on this learning journey. And one thing you should remember is that learning is always easy, fun, and effortless. That is how our brains are wired to make things, to understand things, to break things down, and to kind of reflect upon it. And finally, when we completely understand, it becomes like a effortless process. So that's how this process will become for you. As we just started the day with a picture and a quiz kind of activity, we see and we learn that when we find things interesting, it becomes very, very effortless. So any learning, any topic that you feel like knowing better, it has to be fun, it has to be effortless. And to make it effortless, you have to realize that your mind is powerful, and also your unconscious mind is a very, very powerful resource. So there are different levels in mind. There is a logical mind that we have, there is a subconscious mind, and there is an unconscious mind. So uh, if when we start exploring more about the mind and the structure of the mind in the following classes the next week, we'll see and realize that we have a resource of unlimited energy, unlimited power with us, which is the power of the subconscious mind. And with this power of the subconscious mind, you'll realize that that's how you make habits, that's how you learn new things, that's how things become effortless. You if you know that the art of, let's say, making something, or let's say if you know the process of doing something, slowly and gradually it becomes a back of the hand kind of an activity. For example, somebody of you drive. Let's say if you're driving a car for the first time, it is very difficult to know where is the accelerator, where is the clutch, where is the brake, the ABC of driving a car. But then, after many a times of practice, after understanding, it becomes like a skill which is on back of your hand. And then you're driving the car, you're talking to your friend, then you're changing the record, changing the radio, waving to somebody who's on the street, and that becomes like a back of the hand activity. So this is where we want to explore in this group. How do we use our unconscious? And one thing we have to remember is mind your mind. So our mind is very powerful. The first concept that we want to share is that let's work on this field where we are learning about our mind. We are learning about various disciplines which have contributed immensely to our understanding of mind. Psychology is one of the disciplines, neurolinguistic programming is one of the disciplines, and last but not the least, mindfulness practices have contributed a lot about how do we mindfully cultivate a curious mind, a learner's mind, and a beginner's mind. So that was the concept for the day. And generally, what I'll do is that every week I'll share one or the other concept. So, and I'll give you some time to ask your questions, uh, clarify your doubts if you have. I can also make few book recommendations if needed. But I want you to share this material with others, and as well as, take care of those who are around you with this knowledge. Take care of your parents, take care of those you love, take care of your friends. So this is important that whatever we learn mindfully, we also kind of use it to kind of help others, and that's where the learning becomes continuous and learning becomes fun. Okay. So I'll take a pause here. And as this is our very first class, I'll also invite you to kind of share what is it that you want to spend time on. So like I had a concept for the day, which was about mind. The next few classes, which I feel is about understanding a little bit about psychology. So if you have something in your mind that you want to learn, please feel free to kind of unmute or put it on the chat. We'll take a stock of those things and we'll definitely build it in our club curriculum. Yeah. So let me hear you. What do you want to learn? Yeah, you can use the chat or you can use the microphone.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, Vijender. Tell me.
So,
Very good morning.
just one question.
Yeah.
In day-to-day or in, life, like in office life as well, when we start talking someone or when
Hmm.
we start guiding someone on any topic or any issues, so starting of the conversation is quite good, and I believe I can, lead this entire conversation. But in mid of the entire conversation, I lose my some information or some
Hmm.
practice that I wanted to say,
Hmm.
and this that person. So how
Hmm.
I complete and how I conclude this conversation
Hmm.
positively with this person or any kind of situation.
Okay. Okay. So the problem that you had is that whenever you are speaking to somebody in the middle, you can start the conversation well. What I can understand from what you're saying is that you can start the conversation well. In the middle of the conversation is when you lose the audience or lose the other person to an extent, and then towards the end you are not happy with the outcome. Is it like that? Did I get it right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay, great, great. So see, that's something that you have experienced. So first thing I would say, Vijendra, is that it's about awareness. Because many a times people are facing a problem, but they are not aware that what is the problem. So, congratulations that at least you have thought that this is an area where you have to work. Now, whenever we are speaking to somebody, uh, in that part, there are just in that conversation, in that communication, there are two major areas that we have to cover in that speaking, in that conversation. So one area is the speaking when we are sharing our thoughts, but second is the most important, I would say, is understanding and listening. So if you are in that conversation and if the other person is talking more, and then you are listening to the other person, and somewhere you feel that your point is not covered or you're not able to convey, that is one part. But then if the other person is also feeling the same, that's a bigger problem actually. But in your case, I feel that it's more that you are not able to convey your point effectively is what you are thinking. But at least let's start with this, that A, it is about conveying your idea, conveying the message, but B, it is also about listening and understanding. So where do you rate yourself, Vijendra, on listening and understanding in that conversation? If let's say 10 is that you are a great listener, or z- 0 or 1 is that you don't listen at all or you don't understand at all, where do you rate yourself there?
At least 8.5.
8.5. So that's a very important step, a very important aspect of a communication where you are doing extremely well. So realize this, that the other person's impression of you or that relationship in that conversation is still very good, because you are a good listener and you are able to kind of understand and build that relationship in that conversation. Now the only aspect now you need to work on is conveying your message and conveying that information, isn't it? So
Yeah, yeah.
so for that aspect there can be two ideas which you may consider. First is that yeah, you can just go ahead and you know sh- um, if it is official meeting, you can start with the minutes of the meeting, you can start with some agenda of the meeting, and at the end of it you also share the minutes of the meeting. Like some of the office calls which generally we guys attend, not everybody gets a chance to speak, and everybody feels that okay, my point is still left. So a good way to tackle that is we send the communication or send an email. So that is about a professional interaction. In in the other interactions, what you can also do is that mindfully you can look for pauses. Let's say if you and I, we are speaking and your point is still answered, not answered, you have conveyed your information or not, then whenever the other person stops, you can bring up that topic politely in the flow of the conversation. So that is a pause that you can look for in a normal conversation. And second, looking for areas where you can kind of, in a professional setting, send a communication which kind of conveys all your points. So these are two ideas that I can suggest you at this point in time. But all the more, rest assured that you have a good observation, you have a good intent of kind of working on this. So I'm sure that with time you will definitely take some steps which will be in the right direction. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, perfectly. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I also see Abhinav's point. He says, how can we handle stress and how to maintain work-life balance in today's era? That's a very interesting question, Abhinav, and thank you for bringing that out. So I'll briefly kind of mention it, because during our Sunday classes we will definitely have one day specifically on stress management and one day specifically on work-life balance. But I'll give you the overview. See, nowadays, the biggest stress, the biggest problem that we are facing is technology. Like if you go 10 years, 20 years back, the only information that people used to have was either a television, either a radio, either a newspaper, and that never used to have that much information overload. But with smartphones coming in, with the advent of technology, now the AI is also joining the revolution. We have so many areas of information, unwanted information that overburdens us. Take, the social media for an example. If some of our friends are doing well, we look at it and we get stress. If some of them are not doing well, we get stress. So the whole point I'm trying to make is that there is so much information available that we are kind of overburdened with information. That digital stress is the biggest thing. So reduce that digital stress mindfully is what I will say, which means do not sleep with your phone besides your pillow. There are like four of us on this call, and I'm sure that when we share this recording with the other club members, they'll also realize that there are many of us, we are in this habit of sleeping with the phone. That adds to a lot of stress. And how we can maintain the work life balance, a very simple kind of a life hack, I will say, because I did all this work and a little bit of my personal research on life hacks, that how we can create a balance in our life and how we can master some of the areas. One of the biggest life hacks, Abhinav, that I want to share with you is that we can very, very mindfully set up a clock, set up a kind of a positive suggestion to ourselves that we wake up early. So you can get an alarm clock, you can just put an alarm, and whatever time you wake up, let's say if you're getting up at 7, you wake up at 6. Now what that does to your life is that if you get up at 6, you have nothing else to do. What will you do? Your normal schedule is getting up at 6. Then that 1 hour extra, you can choose to meditate, you can choose to exercise, you can choose to plan, you can choose to do a n number of things which can put your life back into balance. So there is no perfect life, work life balance, to be very, very honest with you, Abhinav. But the balance that we are seeking is the balance we can create. You read that quote, the Zen on the top of the mountain is the Zen you bring along. So similarly, the balance that you are seeking in your life, simply if you get into this habit, if you program your unconscious mind to wake you up early, 1 hour early than what you normally are doing, that can give you a leverage. That can give you a point where you can do a difference. And I've tried it for myself. There are some of my coaches who just turn around the companies where they are just coaching the founders of the companies, the business owners of that companies to get up 1 hour early. So that makes a difference. So I hope I partially answered your question, Abhinav, and going forward in our further Sunday classes, we will definitely take up these topics because they are important topics. Okay, I see another question. Sir, okay, somebody has written, Sir, as we have seen that athletes don't give up and mentally they are very strong, how to have a mindset like that of an athlete? Awesome. So, and again, an example is a great example, Rishabh Pant, who suffered from bad accident and he still managed to, yes, absolutely brilliant example. Yeah, Abhinav only, na? And how to have a willpower like that of an athlete. Awesome. So, Abhinav, that's a very, very valid example that you have given. And yes, this forum is all about creating that mindset. This is the power of the mindset, actually. So, what we are doing every Sunday, one part of that is learning, but second is also the mindset. And there are certain techniques which I'll be sharing week after week with you gradually, which is about building that winning mindset. So you're right that the mindset is very important. And, to start with, I'll say let's not call it willpower. My thought or my idea is that the moment we start to say willpower, especially in the Indian society, what happens is that since our childhood, our parents are saying, Acha beta, have some willpower. If we are studying something, no, no willpower. And somewhere, when I say the word willpower, what is the feeling that you get in your body, positive or negative? Yeah. Abhinav, Varti, Vijendra, anybody can write, you know, we'll go by that. I see a message. So Abhinav is getting a positive. Okay. Positive. Yeah. So my question to you is, if it is that positive, then why are we still looking for that willpower? See, it is positive, but it looks very, very hard positive. It's not a easy positive. And that is where, we become like trapped. Our parents says, no, no, beta, have willpower, or our friend says, "Mm, have this willpower and show up in the gym, take care of your health." See, the willpower, although is a very positive word, but then it looks very hard, very difficult, and somewhere the feeling is not so good in our body when we say willpower. Willpower सुनते हैं तो हमें लगता है कि अरे काफी काम करना पड़ेगा, you know. So the mind hack here is that I want to share with you is that instead of willpower, we have to label it something else. And the work that I'm doing these days, it is called creating some operative practices, which is like a habit. For example, if you have a habit of coming from work, then putting your shoes somewhere, throwing your bag somewhere, sitting in front of the TV, opening the TV and drinking tea and eating chips, that is a habit. उसके लिए विल पावर नहीं लगता है, you don't feel like doing a lot, or it doesn't look hard, it looks like a easy transition. So what all these athletes they have done is that they have trained their mind that whatever operative practices or habits, they look very, very easy. So for a normal person, getting up 4 in the morning is very difficult, but for an athlete, they make such a habit. And when you make a habit, that habit consumes very less mental energy. You don't have to think too much. For example, Abhinav, for you, if you put a gym bag, if you put a water bottle, let's say, and if you put your clothes, let's say gym clothes, next to your bed, and if you sleep looking at them today, tomorrow morning, if you get up little early, आपको लगेगा अरे I have all these things stuff lying around, let me just change and let me hit the gym. That will be very, very easy. That means you have set up your environment in a way that is supporting your habit. Now, these are the habit hacks that we have to do, we have to practice, and that is where the mindset definitely works with you. So that power of the mindset is all about knowing that sometimes your mind, just like in this sharing I shared with you, that it looks for familiarity, but it learns by novelty. So this is where we have to use it in the right manner, and we have to put up these practices, and habits are very important. One of my coaches said that teach me, train me, groom me, and I'll put your world at your feet. But if you be easy with me, I will destroy you. Habit is my name. So teach me, train me, groom me. That means we have to teach, train, and groom our mind, our unconscious mind, in a way that all of this doesn't look like a hard work, doesn't look like a lot of actions, or it looks very, very simple, easy, and we pick up certain habits which are very, very healthy habits, and that's how we shape up our mind one day at a time. Okay. So that's the thought with which I want to leave you, that learning is fun. Learning is definitely an enjoyable process, and change is definitely an enjoyable process that you can do. And just think differently. How do you want to use that change? How do you want to create that difference? Yeah. And every week we'll catch up on one topic or the another, and we'll definitely make it super fun. And definitely we'll share some really, really nice techniques, nice concepts where we will learn, and learning is fun, guys. It is not a hard work. It'll not require you willpower. It just happens easily, effortlessly, and seamlessly in your life. That's how we learn. So on that note, with the last 1 or 2 minutes that we have on the call, I'll just take a pause, And in this mindful pause, I would like to thank all of you for giving your time for this initiative. And please hear me out on this, that this is really important, that you have showed up. It's not just because of for the initiative, but you have showed up for your learning. You have showed up for creating this space, holding this space. So I'm thankful to each one of you for holding this space, and all our club members who will be listening to this, they are equally thankful. And on behalf of all of us, I thank you all for sharing your time on this